Hollywood just witnessed a showdown no one saw coming, Sylvester Stallone versus Jimmy Kimmel, and the fallout may have ended Kimmel's career for good. What started as a late-night monologue meant to spark laughs spiraled into a firestorm of criticism, and in the middle of it all was one of Hollywood's toughest legends, quietly smiling as everything he once warned about finally came true. Stallone has always carried himself with grit, humility, and respect for fans, while Kimmel has leaned further and further into political jabs and snide commentary, and when those worlds collided, the result was nothing short of explosive. But to really understand why Stallone's reaction hit so hard and why this story has gripped both Hollywood and the wider public, we need to rewind to where the rift began and how it escalated into one of the biggest controversies late-night television has seen in decades. The spark that lit the fuse came when Jimmy Kimmel delivered a controversial monologue referencing the recent loss of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. To some, it may have seemed like just another jab in the nightly back and forth of American politics, but this time, it struck a nerve. What was likely meant as sharp political commentary came off as callous and cold-blooded, especially given the timing. Family, friends, and supporters were still mourning, yet Kimmel's tone carried an air of mockery that many found impossible to ignore. Within hours, outrage poured in from both sides of the political spectrum. Viewers who normally disagreed on everything were united in one thing, calling Kimmel's comments insensitive, disrespectful, and flat-out wrong. ABC, recognizing just how volatile the situation had become, acted with unusual speed. In a move no one saw coming, they announced Jimmy Kimmel Live would be preempted indefinitely, refusing to provide a timeline for its return. For a program that had anchored late-night TV for over 20 years, the sudden halt sent shockwaves through the industry. What made matters worse was the statement from Nexstar Media Group, which owns a huge number of ABC affiliates across the country. Their words were brutal, stating that Kimmel's remarks were offensive, failed to reflect the values of their communities, and that keeping him on air was simply not in the public interest. That level of condemnation from within ABC's own ecosystem showed just how serious the backlash had become. And while viewers were still processing the fallout, one Hollywood icon seemed almost vindicated. Sylvester Stallone, the man who built his career on resilience and respect, had long warned that mocking celebrities and politicians while treating fans with contempt was a dangerous path for someone whose entire career depended on the spotlight. For years, Stallone kept his distance from Kimmel after a canceled talk show appearance turned into something much bigger. Stallone had been scheduled to promote his shows and projects, rare appearances since he seldom does late-night interviews, but reports claim Kimmel personally pushed for the cancellation over political differences. Instead of keeping things professional, Kimmel allegedly let bias guide his decisions, and then he took it a step further by cracking pointed jokes at Stallone's expense on air. What might have been brushed off as comedy felt more like a personal swipe. Fans noticed, and the sting never really faded. That's why, when the recent controversy erupted, Stallone didn't need to say much. His silence and subtle satisfaction spoke volumes, almost as if to say, "I told you this would happen." Fans, meanwhile, did not stay quiet. Social media exploded with outrage directed at Kimmel, and the hashtags number cancel Kimmel and number respect Stallone began trending within hours. Memes flooded every platform with side-by-side images of Stallone training as Rocky compared to unflattering shots of Kimmel behind his desk. One viral post summed up the sentiment, "Stallone inspires millions. Kimmel inspires channel changing." Critics joined the chorus too, noting how late-night TV had shifted away from entertainment and toward political scolding. To many, Kimmel's swipe at Stallone represented everything they despised about modern comedy: too much arrogance, too little humor, and the numbers didn't lie. Ratings for Kimmel's show began dropping sharply, not just a minor dip, but a free fall that left ABC scrambling to contain the damage. Behind the scenes, ABC executives launched into full panic mode. Reports suggest they even reached out directly to Stallone, offering him rare, unrestricted airtime if he'd agree to appear on Kimmel's show. That kind of freedom is virtually unheard of in network television, but ABC was desperate. They even dangled future collaborations and projects to sweeten the deal. But Stallone wasn't interested. To him, the offer felt like a hollow attempt to salvage Kimmel's reputation rather than a genuine olive branch. Stallone and his team made it clear that respect couldn't be bought after years of dismissive behavior. His refusal only deepened the blow to Kimmel's image. Fans rallied behind Stallone's decision, praising him for standing firm. One commenter wrote, "Good for Stallone. They only want him back because the money's drying up." Another said bluntly, "Too little, too late." Even A-list actors began quietly avoiding invitations to Kimmel's show, a move that underscored just how toxic his brand had become. And here's why this moment was so much bigger than just one late-night host and one Hollywood legend. Stallone isn't just another actor. He's a symbol. From Rocky to Rambo, his roles represent grit, determination, and resilience, the very qualities audiences admire and aspire to. Stallone's characters don't just fight battles on screen, they mirror the struggles of everyday people trying to push through adversity. His personal story, from a struggling unknown to a Hollywood icon, embodies the American dream. That's why his clash with Kimmel resonated so deeply. It wasn't just about a canceled talk show appearance or a few jokes, it was about respect. When Kimmel mocked Stallone, fans saw it as mocking the values Stallone represented. The response was immediate. Stallone stood tall, and Kimmel's career stumbled. The larger picture here is that Kimmel's decline was already in motion before this controversy. Audiences had been drifting away for years, tired of monologues that felt more like lectures than comedy. While Jimmy Fallon leaned into playful games and musical skits, Kimmel seemed determined to turn his stage into a political soapbox. During the 2020 election season, his long monologues became infamous for dragging on like classroom lectures. Viewers weren't tuning in to be scolded, they wanted to laugh, and Kimmel wasn't delivering. By 2023, his ratings had slipped so far that even Greg Gutfeld on Fox, who started as a quirky figure making cat jokes online, was outperforming him consistently. For Kimmel, a man once at the top of late-night television, that was a humiliation akin to Rocky losing to an amateur YouTube boxer. But beyond Kimmel himself, this was also a story about the decline of late-night television as a whole. The cultural grip that late-night shows once held has eroded dramatically. Younger audiences no longer wait up to watch comedians on TV, they flock to YouTube, TikTok, and podcasts, where the content feels fresher, more personal, and instantly accessible. By the time the Stallone controversy erupted, many viewers had already written off late night as stale and irrelevant. Kimmel's blunders just accelerated the decline. Stallone, on the other hand, seemed perfectly in tune with the new landscape. Rather than begging for attention from legacy outlets, he embraced platforms that gave him direct connection to fans. Appearances on alternative shows, podcasts, and independent outlets positioned him as part of the cultural shift rather than clinging to the old system. And he wasn't alone. Stars like Zachary Levi and James Woods openly criticized Hollywood's obsession with politics, arguing that it smothered creativity and alienated audiences. Together, these voices reflected a growing movement away from establishment media and toward authenticity. Stallone's refusal to return to Kimmel's show sent a loud message: the era of needing late-night validation is over. By the end of it, Kimmel's career was left in tatters. The controversy wasn't just another headline, it became a symbol of everything wrong with late-night TV. Meanwhile, Stallone's reputation only grew stronger. Fans saw him not just as an action hero, but as someone who understood them, someone who valued respect over cheap shots, someone who didn't play by the outdated rules of Hollywood elitism. And the truth is, this battle was never really about Stallone versus Kimmel. It was about a seismic shift in entertainment. Traditional late-night comedy is fading fast, and new voices are rising in its place. Independent creators, podcasts, and YouTubers are commanding massive audiences without the backing of giant networks. They're authentic, they're relatable, and they don't spend every night lecturing viewers. That's why Kimmel's decline felt inevitable, and why Stallone's quiet triumph felt so satisfying to so many. So, as the dust settles, we're left with a striking picture of an industry in transition. Stallone, the Hollywood legend, standing firm with dignity and authenticity, while Kimmel, once a titan of late night, finds himself on the outside looking in. And maybe that's the bigger story here, the passing of an era. Because when even legends like Stallone turn their backs on the old Hollywood game, the message couldn't be clearer. The future belongs to authenticity, not lectures. The audience has moved on, and the people who refuse to adapt are being left behind.